Hello there, very good evening to all our viewers and welcome to this edition of Primetime News. We are coming to you live and direct from the Newsfirst Centre here in Colombo. I'm Joel Outscourt.
And I'm Jitendra Gunasena.
I am Zulfiq Farzan. A body was found at the golf grounds in Colombo this morning.
I'm Sid Kotian.
I'm standing here on the iconic Golf Face Green where we've heard reports of yet another crocodile being found on Colombo's beaches.
With a look at tonight's headlines.
CID informs court that the brother of Kondia has confessed the murder of Siasa Deumi. The For Our Children campaign to ensure child protection, organized by Newsfirst, commences from the towns of Gaul and Kilinochi. President states that uncultivated government lands will be used for food production. Japan to support Sri Lanka's push for a local mechanism as declared in the Human Rights Resolution passed in Geneva. Udagammana program relaunched.
Udagammana වැඩසටහන අපි නැවතත් වරක් රට පුරාවටම දියත් කරන්නට බලාපොරොත්තු වෙනවා කියන එක බොහොම ආඩම්බරෙන් මම මතක් කරනවා.
President Maithripala Sirisena says that the state-owned land, which is not utilized for cultivation, will be utilized for food production in the future. The president made this statement at a ceremony held to launch the National Food Production Program.
The state function for the National Food Production Program was held in Irunamadu this morning. The president was welcomed by Chief Minister of the Northern Province, C.V. Vigneswaran. This is the best opportunity to develop the country. We have the support of the international community. We should start cultivating. Legal action will be taken against officials who fail to notify about lands that are not utilized for cultivation.
මේ වැඩසටහනේදී රජයේ ඉඩම් හිස්ස තිබුණොත් වගාවට ගන්න නැතුව ඒ අයිති නිලධාරීන්ගෙන් මම නිදහසට කරුණු අහනවා.
Land deeds of 613 acres of land in Kilinochi and Mulathev, which were used by the army, were ceremoniously handed over to the rightful owners and institutions. Thereafter, the inaugural ceremony of the National Food Production Program commenced under the auspices of President Maithripala Sirisena. The President also participated in a ceremony to distribute agricultural seeds and cattle to farmers on the sidelines of the inaugural National Food Production Program. The President also opened a newly built fish breeding center in Irunamadu. The President later inspected a vocational training center that has been built with the funds of the German government in Madu. Today marks day 2 of Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe's visit to Japan. Shahin Jurampati, who is currently in Tokyo, Japan, filed this report.
Today was day 2 of Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe's visit in Japan, and today he held several bilateral meetings with several key government officials in Japan. And the room that you see behind me is where all these meetings were held.
Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe first met with the Minister of Foreign Affairs of Japan, Fumio Kishida, this morning. Speaking at this meeting, the Japanese Foreign Minister pledged to fully support the Human Rights Council resolution on Sri Lanka on establishing a domestic mechanism in the country. Minister Kishida also commended the new government in its efforts in rebuilding the domestic and international trust which had fallen apart over the years. He added that Japan will fully support the Sri Lankan government in its efforts to rebuild a nation of good governance. In response, Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe said that Japan plays a vital role in the peace and development of the Asia-Pacific region. Prime Minister Wickremesinghe added that Sri Lanka will extend its fullest support to Japan in obtaining membership at the UN Security Council. Subsequently, the Premier attended a luncheon hosted by the Japan-Sri Lanka Business Cooperation Committee, which was held at the Hotel New Otani in Tokyo. During this meeting, Chairman of the committee, Tadayuki Seki, said that Sri Lanka is reaching a fast-paced growth in its economy. Speaking further, he said that Japan will provide the required economic assistance for Sri Lanka while improving cooperation between the two countries. Prime Minister Wickremesinghe said that Sri Lanka is ready to make economic and political reforms in accordance with the constitution of the country.
Sri Lanka is planning to carry out the next generation of economic reforms which will make highly competitive and benchmark it with the developments and achievements of Malaysia and Singapore. We are at the same time planning to have economic and technological comprehensive economic and technological collaboration with India, free trade agreements with Pakistan, Bangladesh, China, with other neighbors, ASEAN members on the Bay of Bengal, as well as obtaining the GSP plus preference from the European Union. You see, in the background of these reforms that we are looking at further investments by the Japanese private sector. So now we are looking at removing all those barriers and obstacles and also reforming the monetary and the financial restrictions that are imposed. The Ministry for Development Strategy and International Trade, we should look into the barriers for investment.
Thereafter, Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe held a bilateral meeting with the Vice President of the Liberal Democratic Party, Masahiko Komuro. Prime Minister Wickremesinghe also called on the Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Finance of Japan, Taro Aso. Subsequently, the Premier held bilateral talks with the Japanese Minister of Internal Affairs and Communication, Sanai Takeishi. Following these discussions, a group of Mahasangha residing in Japan arrived at the Imperial Hotel in Tokyo and cast their blessings on the visiting Prime Minister.
Our chief incumbent arrived here to meet the Prime Minister. There are many monks gathered here from America, Malaysia and also from local temples. They have expressed great pleasure about the opportunity granted to meet the Prime Minister.
Thereafter, Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe met with a group of Sri Lankan expatriates where an interactive session was held. During this session, the expatriates presented their issues to the Prime Minister.
Following the recent general election, it was understood that as per the results, a country should be governed regardless of a combination of parties. This visit comes amid such a fresh experience. 790,000 worth of cars have been imported over the past 9 months. We reduced the price of petrol and car taxes were relaxed. As a result, we have to be stuck in traffic for 2 to 3 hours. Therefore, it is pointless to import cars without the roads being built. Even though the duty is at 73%, the income that is obtained through imported cars is just 73%. Why are you in Japan? Because of the living standards and because of a good future could be foreseen for your children. We are taking big strides to develop the country by taking a step back from traditional politics and slogans. We can expect to develop it further.
Tomorrow, Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe will hold bilateral discussions with Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe, following which he will address the Japanese legislature, becoming only the third world leader to do so after US President Barack Obama and Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Thereafter, Prime Minister Wickremesinghe is scheduled to hold more bilateral talks with key government officials, including the Chief Cabinet Secretary as well as the Minister of Economy, Trade and Industry. News First will bring you the details of Prime Minister Wickremesinghe's visit here in Japan. Shayan Jirampati, News First, Tokyo, Japan.
The state function to mark World Habitat Day was held today under the auspices of Minister of Housing and Construction, Sajith Premadasa. The theme of this year's World Habitat Day is Public Spaces for All.
The national ceremony to mark World Habitat Day saw the participation of Minister Patli Champika Ranawaka, Deputy Minister Indika Bandaranaike and others. Floral tributes were laid at the statue of former President, the late Ranasinghe Premadasa, which was unveiled today. Minister Sajith Premadasa declared open a photography exhibition titled The Seven Study Foundation, which includes information on housing and construction programs and an art exhibition by children. This was followed by multi-religious observances. We constructed large shopping complexes. The arcade at Independence Square, the race course and the floating market are making losses amounting to millions of rupees every month. These complexes are even unable to pay its electricity bills. It is with disappointment that I state that a large fish tank was constructed at the arcade premises. The cost of the glass of the fish tank alone is 35 million rupees, while the cost of a single fish in the fish tank is 65,000 rupees. These sites have turned into white elephants which we cannot maintain. These are finally maintained with the tax money collected from the general public through the taxing of dal, sugar, petrol and diesel. We have decided to eliminate this social injustice. Minister Sajid Premadasa also addressed the gathering. We made an announcement about a massive goal, which is to commence a program to construct 50,000 houses within 100 days with the support of everyone in the ministry. Today I state with pride that the work has commenced on 38,000 houses at this very moment. I also state that the Udagammana program that was implemented during the time of President Ranasinghe Premadasa will be re-implemented across the country. It is with immense joy that I state that 240 million rupees allocated for the ministry will be utilized for the establishment of 38 villages across the country before the 31st of December under this program. Housing deeds were also presented at the national ceremony to mark World Habitat Day, while awards were presented to children and youngsters for their talents. Marking World Habitat Day, UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon says that public spaces can provide basic services, enhance connectivity, spawn economic activity and raise property values while generating municipal revenue. He adds that this year's observance follows the adoption of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development.
Sri Lanka places itself as one of the exemplary nations in the world with regard to habitat as a result of the housing programs initiated by late President Ranasinghe Premadasa from 1978 to 1993. Addressing the second United Nations International Shelter Conference in 1986, late President Premadasa made a proposal on habitat and it was accepted by UN and in 1987 was declared as World Habitat Year. Under the leadership of late Ranasinghe Premadasa, for 12 years, 1 million houses were constructed for the low-income earning persons in the country. Settlements named Udagam were also established in line with this program.
A body of an individual with laceration marks was discovered this morning at the premises of the golf course in Borella. The victim was an employee of the golf course.
Police received a tip-off this morning on its emergency hotline and following investigations discovered a body of an individual at the golf course premises in Colombo. The victim was identified as Kaluthanduge Chaminda Pereira, also known as Pattis, a resident from Kitulwatta, Borella. It is also reported that the 38-year-old victim was living alone and was separated from his family. A body was found at the golf grounds in Colombo this morning, and behind me, according to the police, is the place where this individual is said to have been attacked. Now his body was found 100 meters away from this location, and according to the police, this individual who was murdered was an employee of this very place.
He had an argument before and was assaulted with an iron rod, injuring his legs. I asked him why it happened. He said that he was assaulted for not purchasing alcohol. I told him not to get involved in any altercation and to file a complaint with the police. The altercation resulted in him losing 2 of his teeth.
Halstoff Magistrate Nirosha Fernando arrived at the crime scene this morning and carried out the magisterial inquiry.
Police said that the suspects who were arrested over the disappearance of journalist Pragitek Naligoda will be moved to the Giratale Army camp for further investigations. A communique by the police media unit says that the suspects will be moved to the army camp in the period between the 3rd and 14th of this month, following a court order obtained on the 28th of last month. The CID has detained 11 suspects over the disappearance of journalist Pragitek Naligoda so far for questioning.
The Colombo District Court today issued an enjoining order against the committee appointed by the Democratic Party to take disciplinary action against Western Provincial Councillor Susil Kidel-Pittier. The order was issued after considering a plaint filed by the Western Provincial Councillor to the Colombo District Court.
The complaint stated that the appointment of the committee was biased and partisan and that any decision made by the said committee will not be just and reasonable. The enjoining order made by the Colombo District Court against the disciplinary committee will be valid for a period of 14 days from today. Attorneys at law Pulas Tirupasinghe and Mehran Karim appeared for Susil Kidel-Pittier. On a low note, the final rites of eminent media personality, the late Harold Vijay was conducted today at the crematorium of the Borella Cemetery in Colombo. Remains of late Harold Vijay was placed at a funeral parlour in Borella. A large gathering including politicians, colleagues, friends and artists arrived today as well to pay their last respects. Born on the 21st of January 1962, Harold Vijay was a product of Royal College, Colombo. Vijay, who was ill for some time, passed away at the age of 53. Having commenced his professional life at the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation, Harold Vijay worked at the Sri Lanka Rupavahini Corporation and the Independent Television Network. Harold Vijay, who left an indelible mark in the media industry as an outstanding cameraman, producer and specialist television technician, provided a long-standing service as director of MTV MBC Broadcasting Complex. Vijay also worked as a consultant for MTV MBC and was the owner of Plus One production company. Producing popular teledramas such as Nona Varuni Mahatvaruni, Yes Boss, Yes Madam, which won the hearts of the public, Harold Vijay also produced teledramas such as Sansara Sakmana, Sena Vasantaya, Adriya Hasataram and programs such as Punchi Pahemang. Welcome back to the news. Still in local news this evening, a crocodile that was spotted in the waters of Goldface Green was captured in an operation by lifeguards and wildlife officers.
The 12-foot-long crocodile, which had been seen in the seas for several days, was in a weak condition when it was captured earlier today.
Over the past several months, Colombo's beaches have fallen victim to jellyfish and now crocodiles. So in addition to the signboards placed here at the Goldface Green warning of rough seas and poisonous species in the area, we also have to worry about crocodiles. The Goldface Green, after Welavatta, Devala and Bamlapitiya, has become the latest location for these reptilian creatures to visit. Now, what is the reason for these crocodiles, who are usually very, very shy creatures who do not venture out into areas which are populated by human beings? What is the reason for them to be coming out into the far, deep ocean and then getting themselves washed up on our beaches?
Fortunately for this crocodile, it was captured and moved to the Department of Wildlife Conservation in Batramulla, where wildlife officers say that the crocodile will be released to a suitable environment in the near future. Reporting from the Goldface Green, this is Sid Kotian for News First.
Dr. Eliantha White was summoned to the Financial Crimes Investigation Division, or FCID, this morning to record a statement.
According to the police media spokesperson, Dr. Eliantha White was summoned to the FCID to record a statement to aid an investigation being carried out by the FCID on the assets of a former working director of the Fertilizer Corporation. The police media spokesperson added that a statement was also recorded from Dr. Eliantha White to ascertain the ownership of a house located in Nugegoda in which Dr. Eliantha White is currently residing.
The Criminal Investigations Department informed court that Saman Jalat, the brother of Dinesh Prashant alias Kundya, who was arrested in connection with the rape and murder of Seya Sademe in Kota Denyava, had confessed to the murder. The submissions were made when the case was taken up for consideration before Chief Magistrate of Minoangoda, D.A. Ruan, today.
Dunesh Priyashantha alias Kondya, who was arrested in connection with the murder of Seya Sadewumi in Kotadeniava, and his brother Saman Jalath, who was also arrested on the 2nd of this month and held under detention orders, were produced before the Minuwangoda Magistrate Court today. The CID informed court that Saman Jalath had confessed to the murder of Seya Sadewumi, and the magistrate was also informed of the suspect's immediate need to make a statement in court. Thereby, the suspect had made a statement for nearly 2 hours this evening at the official quarters of the magistrate. Thereafter, the CID had requested court to issue an order to detain the suspect in prison under special security. The magistrate, who noted that an order cannot be issued, stated that a notification will be made to detain the suspect in prison under special security. The magistrate had ordered that the suspect be subject to a DNA test. The two suspects will be further remanded until the 19th of this month.
Seya Sadewumi, who was asleep at home, reported missing. Body of Seya Sadewumi, who was murdered, found 200 meters away from her house. A 17-year-old student and a 35-year-old individual arrested in connection with the murder. The two suspects who were arrested remanded. Dunesh Priyashantha alias Kondya arrested in connection with the murder of Seya Sadewumi. The 17-year-old school student and 35-year-old individual arrested in connection with the murder of Seya Sadewumi acquitted. The brother of Kondya arrested in connection with the murder of Seya Sadewumi. Meanwhile, a campaign titled For Our Children to ensure the protection of children and build a better future for them commenced this evening. The island-wide awareness campaign is organized by Newsfirst together with the Ministry of Law and Order and Prison Reforms.
One phase of the For Our Children campaign
අසලින් ආරම්භ කළා. ඊට බොහෝ පිරිසකගේ දායකත්වය හිමි වුණා.
Another team commenced this campaign from the premises of the Kale Mahal School in Shantipuram, Kilinochri. Regional government officials and members of Newsfirst were present for this campaign.
Chief Minister of the Northern Province was one of the attendees at this morning's event to launch the National Food Production Programme. Let's take a look at the views expressed by the Chief Minister.
The President was born into a farming family. Farmers in our area are pleased by this fact. As the economy is strengthened, the people's lives also need to be strengthened. They need to live with dignity. The people were suppressed in the past. The people have given us power. I make several requests at this time. International organizations have not made an estimate of the people's requirements. Therefore, this needs to take place. We asked the UN to file a report on all our requirements. However, what we received was a report on public welfare. Facts that were obstructing the development of the people were not inquired into. Lands of our people are owned by others. They have not been able to enter into their own lands. The people suffering after the war was not inquired into. Measures were not taken to eradicate poverty. This should have been thought of when the war was over.
Meanwhile, a cook at a restaurant in Maile Jayala was seriously injured in an altercation with a group of persons who were under the influence of alcohol.
A group of persons who arrived at the restaurant at around 12 noon yesterday carried out the attack. The group also damaged equipment and glass window panels of the premises. The injured individual is currently receiving treatment at the Jayala hospital. They asked me for some water. I told them to get it from the tap. They later shouted at me saying, "Who am I to ask them to get water?" They then entered the kitchen. According to the office of the police spokesperson, one person has been arrested in connection to the assault. He is due to be produced before the Negombo magistrate, and investigations to nab the other suspects are underway.
Welcome back to the news. The Marine Environment Protection Authority has commenced a national workshop to create awareness on the 5th Annex of the International MARPOL Convention.
The MARPOL Convention is the international convention for the prevention of pollution from ships, and it includes 6 annexes. MARPOL Annex 5 came into effect on the 31st of December in 1988. It specifies the distance from land in which materials may be disposed of and subdivides different types of garbage and marine debris. Sri Lanka too is a partnering country for this annex. A briefing was held this morning to educate the relevant individuals regarding the amendments that have been made to MARPOL 5.
I think the purpose of the workshop are to raise the awareness on various issues related to the garbage from ships and the port reception facilities, to become more familiar with the international regulatory requirements related to MARPOL Annex 5, port reception facilities, and the waste management, in particular with the latest amendment to MARPOL Annex 5, and to enhance the knowledge and the capacity of marine administration officials.
International symposium to encourage partnerships between the public and the private sector towards disaster resilience and sustainable development was held in Jaffna this morning.
A distinguished gathering including international and local stakeholders in the field were present at the symposium. A panel discussion was held to discuss sharing of Asia-Pacific regional experience in private sector partnership in disaster resilience.
This initiative started only a few years ago, 2 or 3 years ago, and Sri Lanka had become one of the first country to get this new framework going on. A good initiative that came out of our own experience because in the time of the disasters, all the goodwill from private sector there, but if you don't have the mechanism, you cannot link that goodwill to the people affected by disasters.